Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:30. I call this meeting of the Sawyer County Zoning Committee to order. Kathy, can we have roll call, please?
Ron Buckholz,
Present.
Tweed Schuman, Stacy Hessel, Michael Maestri,
Yeah.
John Righeimer.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number C, Statement of Committee and Hearing Procedure Statement. The full statement of committee and hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available in front of the room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure document is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes in the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette and posted. Okay. Number E, approval of the January 20th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel and second by Mr. Righeimer to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, public comment. Please note, comment time is intended for general public comments, not comments relating to a specific application before this committee. Each agenda item requiring a public hearing will have its public hearing conducted just prior to the application being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, we encourage you to hold your comment until then. Okay. Anyone out there that wants to speak in public comment? Hands up.
Let's see, hands raised online, and the other hearing slips I have are for other agenda items.
Okay, all right.
Hearing on, we'll move forward. There are no rezone applications, conditional use permit applications. This is a public hearing in the town of Round Lake for conditional use permit number 23-002. Owner Robert and Elaine Thompson Trust, part of the southwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, and part of the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter. Section 12, Township 41 North, Range 8 West, parcel 024-841-122302 and 3201. Property is zoned F1 Forestry 1 and C1 Commercial 1, also residential recreational 1. It is 26.5 total acres. However, the conditional use is only being considered for mining taking place in the Forestry 1 zone district and is approximately 13.6 total acres. It is known as the Highway 77 pit. Permit is desired for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 88-011 for the location, operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher and hot mix plant. It was originally approved on July 29th of 1988 and most recently renewed on February 21st of 2020. Per my staff report, again, the 13.6 acres of mining is occurring in the F1 zone district, and approximately the current operation area is 8 acres. Minor expansion is proposed further to the south, up into the F1 zone district line. There are some maps I can show you as to where that district line is. Approximately 30,000 cubic feet of material is extracted per year. Land area expansion is very limited with this existing pit. The surrounding use is forestry and light residential, with the nearest house is approximately 800 feet away. Any crushing operation or hot mix plant operation must be located a minimum 1,000 feet away from any residence. The zoning department does not show any complaints on file for this site, and financial assurance has been received in the form of a letter of credit for $9,000. As part of potential conditions for the conditional use permit I have to maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with the plan of operation, including the normal operation hours from 6 AM to 7 PM Monday through Friday, maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and that all other county, state, town, and federal laws are followed. By motion of the town board, this was approved. Ralph Hansen, Chairman, Virginia Shaback, Supervisor, James Strandland, Supervisor, Kay Wilson, Supervisor, Donald Stover, Supervisor. Additional comments were attached. Approved with the conditions that the normal hours of operation be 7 AM to 7 PM, that crushing hours be 8 AM to 5 PM, and that would be from a Monday to Friday. No hot mix plant unless Highway 77 needs to be repaved within 15 miles of the plant. Operation and reclamation plan is corrected to reflect the updated information and conditions as recommended by the town board. There were 10 opinion letters sent out. One of them was returned to our office with some comments. Did the committee members have a chance to review that that
Yes.
letter that we received back?
I did.
Making mention for the record, the committee has the chance to read the response that we received. That is all.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 23-002.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel and a second by Mr. Righeimer to go into public hearing on CUP number 23-002. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. We are now in public hearing. Who wants to be the guest speaker, Dan or Paul? I will. Come up, state your name, please, and address.
Dan Thompson. You need my address?
Yes, please.
Yes.
W5937 Shell Creek Road, Minong, Wisconsin.
Okay, what do you want to tell the committee, Dan?
Just that I think if I do approve this, well, we're gonna keep going the same way we have been. I think in the last 3 years, we only crushed like 5,000 yards out of that pit. It's not used as much as our shop.
And you're okay with what the town put on
Yeah.
there for?
Yep,
Okay,
yeah, totally fine.
right. Anybody have any questions, Dan? Okay. Thanks, Dan. Anybody out there wants to speak against that one?
Yes, I do have 3 public hearing slips. First is a Paul Grzak. Would you like to speak? You come up to the mic.
State your name and your address, please.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Paul Robert Grzak. My address is 906 Roxbury Road and it's in Rockford, Illinois. But this summer, my wife and I, we were lucky enough to purchase 2 acres of land right on Bethel Road, which happens to be lot number 35. Well, and then our plan was, just so I want to give everybody an idea. I was born and raised in Green Bay, went to Green Bay Preble, went to UW La Crosse. For the last 25 years, my wife and I have brought our kids up to Hayward. They learned to water ski, the whole thing, fish. And now my plan here is, I know a lot of people here have already lived here. Our plan was to move here and to retire here. And that's the reason why we actually purchased the land. But then, and the funny thing is after I got set in line to get the well and septic, a week later, I get a letter saying, I got a gravel pit right behind in my backyard. I'm like, holy crap, this is something. So I have 8 concerns. My wife and I have, in the last 2 weeks, we have done a lot of research and so forth. And I'm gonna hand you off my concerns, but I'd like to go through them with you and ask some questions.
Excuse me, sir, but I forgot to tell you, you only have 3-minute time limit. here.
Okay,
So,
Okay, I'm glad you told me that.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, then I'll briefly go through. The first concern we have is the screening noise. For starters, there is no mention in the screening process. Screening separates the sand and the gravel into different sizes. All that's mentioned right now is the crushing. As everybody knows, that the screening process is very loud, and crushing is only one process. The process of screening the material will create a constant sound over and over and over again. The hours for crushing, they originally started with 5 to 6 days per year, or for only 5 to 6 days a year. However, embedded in the same document, crushing hours were to be limited to 10 to 12 per year. And my question here is, why are the number of days of crushing increasing? I'm briefly going through this, and I'll give you all this. The runoff, in the reclamation plan, it states that all the runoff is planned to be contained within the pit. There is no estimate as how many gallons of runoff are predicted. There is no mention of the volume space needed for retaining such a runoff, and there's no explanation on how they'll be handling the next phase. If the water is pumped or diverted off the proposed property, where is the water going to go? There's also no mention of how the water will be handled with the next phase and so forth. Quickly, phases. 5 phases were described in the plan, lacked in detailed information. There is no time frame stated for each phase. Does the new plan still have 5 phases? How many phases do the new plan have? And what about, and also it mentions that $4,000 was listed as the cost. This
You
amount
wanna
is hard to
finish
believe.
her up, sir?
Yes,
Sorry, your time has run out.
is that right?
Finish it up real
Okay.
quick.
Well, I'm just gonna say the last paragraph then.
Okay.
In closing, my wife and I are concerned about the added noise from the screening process, the crushing process, the possible water contamination, the safety to travelers using Highway 77. We are concerned about the water tables and the weak reclamation plan. We are troubled by the limited studies that could affect the wildlife and floral area. And lastly, there's a lot of conflicting information contained in the minutes from previous board and planning meetings. Another applicant was denied this similar thing in 2021, and yet now a new applicant is somehow being seriously considered without a comprehensive plan. We request that this applicant of zoning to be denied. And I'm going to give you my the pages because I took a lot of time just to. And then you guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Next I have a Charlotte Leader letter.
It's Charlotte Rader, and it's spelled R-E-D-E-R, backwards and forwards, kids.
Ma'am, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. I am here because concerned about the environment. We already have 5 or 6 working pits on the west side of 77 in this area. And now we're supposed to be happy with having another one on the east side. So I am very much not in favor of having this pit open. And I don't think the people around me are very happy about it either. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next I have is a Jean Pertel. Next, Jean Pertel.
Ma'am, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm Jean Patel. I live on Hildreth Road. We have been going around about this for a number of years with the Rotec Hirschfield pit, with the Greshel trying to put a pit in, and now he's cut down all the woods, and that's fine. That's part of his land. But now if they're going to reopen or continue running this pit on the Thompson side, there's no buffers to prevent the noise, the dust, anything from coming down Hildreth Road. And this, when the do the rock crushing, you see the dust rolling right down our road. Where Charlotte lives, she gets full frontage of the dust. We get it further down. I also do lake inspection, clean boats, clean water. You can see this dust at the Black Iron, where the people launch boats. It's floating on the water. If they put the hot mix plant in, like they do in the Hirschfeld pit, you actually see when the wind is from the northwest and north, you see this light oil on the water. We fought last time to get it confined and not have this running all the time. And they say, oh, there's no smoke, there's no stink. There is. If I have washout on that day, and I'm about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from Hirschfeld, my laundry comes in smelling of oil and tar. Now the Thompson pit may be a little further, but not much. It's now on the east side of the road. We are still gonna have this smell and this. When I first moved here, Hirschfeld pit wasn't even operating. Thompson had maybe just a little bit of gravel going out, nothing coming in, nothing being crushed. Now we have these other pits. We have the tar, we have the crushing. You have the crushing in the over by the Butterfield, which makes a dust storm all the way across 77. And yet we are supposed to have another one. Don't you guys care about the water? You're not only hitting Tiger Cat flowage, you're hitting Big Round Lake. That's the other neighbor to all of this. And all the people that live on Bethel Road. That's going to be right in their backyards. I ask that you please reconsider this and think about us residents who live there year round, and the smell and the dust and the pollution and the noise. Because they start up, Hirschfield starts up at 6 in the morning, even though their hours are restricted. They're out there crushing a lot earlier than they say. Thank you.
No other slips unless you want to call for it.
Okay, is anybody up? Come up, ma'am, state your name and address.
I'm sorry I was late, so I didn't get to register. My name is Kay Wilson. I live at 10850 North Stewart Road in Hayward. I'm a supervisor at the town of Round Lake, but I'm speaking as a citizen. At our meeting the other night, we considered numerous conditions to add to this CUP because we felt that the operation plan and the reclamation plan was completely outdated. It was dated at 2002, 2008, and that was the last date that it had been approved. One of the things that we discussed at our meeting was that the crushing days should be limited. We've tried to standardize the pits within the town of Round Lake so that they have similar operation hours and similar crushing hours and the number of days, but we did not limit the number of days the other night. And I believe they should be so that it's not open for the whole period that this pit is open. Some of our pits are 3 to 4 days, some up to a maximum of 7 days. And I would ask that if you approve this, that you limit the number of crushing days to a maximum of 7. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, is anyone else out there want to speak in favor of this? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this? None? Okay, if there's no more, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 23-002.
So moved.
I'll second that. We have a motion by Ms. Cecil and a second by Mr. Buckholz to come out of public hearing on number 23-002. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, we are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, the town of Round Lake conditional use permit number 23-002, owner Robert and Elaine Thompson Trust. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this request is for a 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 88-011 for the location of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher and hot mix plant. We heard from the town as far as some of their recommended conditions. I can reread those if the committee would
I
like.
would like to hear them again, Jay.
Yeah, so the town had set that normal hours of operation be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. That crushing hours be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that this committee would set a limited number of days for the crushing. You heard from one of the town of Round Lake supervisors that they would like that number set at 7. They also had indicated that no hot mix plant be on this conditional use permit unless Highway 77 needs to be repaved within 15 miles of the plant, and that the operation reclamation plan is updated to reflect said conditions.
All right, I have one question. Are you guys, is this pit been running constant now? I mean, or has it been shut down for a while?
Just not that shut down, we just don't have
Don't use it?
to use it as much.
So, and are you plan on putting a hot mix plant in there? Okay. All right, committee, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve CUP 23-002
With any conditions?
with the conditions of the town and zoning. But Jay, could you clarify, was the 7 days put on the town's restrictions in the original, or is that just brought forth by one supervisor?
It was just brought forth by one supervisor at this point.
So it was not
not
in
mentioned in the comments that I received back from
Okay.
the town.
So in clarifying, then I would like it to be the town's original approval, not what was brought forth by one person, and then the zoning restrictions that you have on there.
I'll second that motion. Okay, any more discussion? Mr. Maestri, you have anything you want to add?
No, thanks for asking.
I guess just in the follow-up discussion, they've showed the history since 1988. There hasn't been any complaints except for what's brought forward to zoning today. So there's nothing on file of complaints. So we do have to honor the process.
Yeah, and speaking for the people that had objections today, that this is an area that has a very good grain of a good gravel vein in the county, and there are quite a few operations within this immediate vicinity. This is one of the lesser used pits in this area, and just looking at the aerial maps, there's not much more for expansion on this pit. I mean, they're very limited to the amount of expansion. I mean, they're just nipping away at an existing high wall, and it's very minimally used pit. The other pits in that vicinity are used more heavily, and that's where some of these objections may be coming from. But this is one of our least active pits in the entire county. So,
Okay.
And it's not for a new pit; it's a renewal from one that was already approved back in 1988.
Correct.
There was brought up about seeing oil on water. I guess I don't understand where you see the oil in the water, oil. Yeah.
At the Black Iron Boat Landing, when I'm doing clean water.
Okay, I'm sure the DNR must.
Yeah, and whether it's coming from the pits or whether it's picking up oil from the road and the
Oh,
highway
yeah,
itself, you do get a little bit of slick, sometimes.
Sure.
I myself have dumped a boat in, and, if all the grease fittings weren't
Oh, sure.
wiped off, you get a little bit of sheen in the water sometimes.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel and a second by Mr. Buckles to approve this CUP number 23-002.
Mr. Chair,
No
this is
more
Andy.
discussion.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead.
this is
Go
Andy.
ahead.
Could we just clarify, based on the motion, on the findings of fact that are contained within the packet? If we could just identify those for the record, because I think you've talked about a few of them, but I just want to make sure it's clear which findings support the action that the committee is proposing here.
My findings and facts would be 2, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hess. Thank you, Andy. Okay, if there's no more discussion, when there's no more discussion, Kathy, can we do roll call, please?
Yes. Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Michael Maestri,
yes,
John Righeimer,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay,
All right, this is a public hearing in the town of Lenroot, conditional use permit number 23-003, Jim Miller Excavating, part of the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, and the southwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter. Lot 1, CSM number 7815, section 11, township 41 north, range 9 west, parcel 0149411133203, zoned C1 commercial 1 and forestry 1 F1. It is 18.29 total acres and is known as the Olson Road Pit. Permit is desired for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 20-004 for the location and operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. As part of my staff report, again, this is for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 20-004. The property is 18.2 acres with the current operation area of approximately 5.5 acres. This has increased approximately 1.5 acres over the last 3 years, with some reclamation occurring as new areas are opened up. It is anticipated that approximately an additional 2.35 acres would be expanded over the next 5 years. The non-metallic mineral operation is confined mainly to the F1 zone district, and the C1 zone district's use is primarily for an office building. The surrounding use is forestry and light residential and other non-metallic mining operations, with the nearest house approximately 2,500 feet away. The zoning department does not show any complaints on file for the site, and financial assurance has been received in the form of a letter of credit for $4,500. As part of my conditions listed in my staff report is to maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with the plan of operation, including normal hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with crushing operations of 3 to 6 weeks per year. Maintain compliance with Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed, and then expansion of the existing pit not exceed additional 4 acres within the next 5 years without an early CUP renewal. By motion of the town board, action was tabled. The applicant had no representation. And again, the town of Lenroot had tabled it, signed Carol Stone, town clerk. There were 2 opinion letters sent out. None were returned. That is all.
okay. I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 23-003.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Righeimer to go into public hearing on CUP number 23-003. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are now in public hearing. So we don't, the town has tabled it. Is Mr. Miller here?
He is.
Would you like to speak, sir? Come up and.
Once you got the meetings mixed up, I was supposed to go to town of Lenroot, and I just got these 2 mixed up, so I didn't show up at that meeting.
Sure. We're still in public hearing. If you want to state your name for the record and tell
Yes,
anything to this
thank you.
committee that you'd like.
Jim Miller.
You guys have any questions for Mr. Miller? Stacy?
How long so this is just for a renewal. How long have you operated the pit?
Since I want to say 2010.
The
Well-
initial CUP was opened May 18th, 2001.
2001. I didn't
That's-
own the property.
Right, but it was still
Oh, I see.
operating as a
Yeah.
gravel pit
Yeah.
from that original approval of May 18th, 2001.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I don't know if it is the comprehensive plan of the town, it is.
Yeah, this is an existing pit in this area and they have identified it as such.
Did they mention why it was tabled? Just because I wasn't present?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Maestri, you got any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Would I be scheduling another appointment through them then?
Potentially. So ultimately, this committee can really do one of three things. They can table it pending the town's decision. They can approve the conditional use permit and make it a condition that the town of Glenroot also approve, or they could deny the application. I think we'll probably discuss that a little bit with legal counsel in this committee here moving forward. So,
So I'm not approved.
not at this point, not yet. Again,
No.
through discussion, we'll
The
see what
meeting's not
happens.
over.
Right.
The meeting's not over. We haven't, yeah.
okay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak in favor of this CUP out there? Ms. Silmer? 3 minutes.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. I had a question about this and after listening to Mr. Miller, I guess I'm going to ask it. If this pit was original or has been operating since 2001, what was the original CUP number? And what's listed here is CUP 20004. So if you could please explain that, because I was assuming that if this was 2020 and under the old ordinance, there were 3-year renewals and now you're doing 5-year renewals. But I think it's worth sending back to the town to allow people to know the history of the operation if it's gone back that far. And also you had mentioned that you had sent out opinion letters and had not received any back. After this hearing, I guess I would like to see what the letters say, because it was my understanding that the county is changing to only providing notice and not opinion letters. So if you could also clarify too, because if you're only sending a notice and not an opinion letter, you wouldn't be getting any back.
Thank you. Anyone else out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Okay, is there anyone out there wants to speak against the CUP?
I have a public hearing slip for Dennis Erickson.
Okay. State your name and address, sir.
Dennis
3 minutes.
Erickson, 15499W Leo's Road. Not everyone gets the newspaper, and of those that do, not everyone reads everything in it. I would be surprised to learn that everyone here even did. To notify only those within 300 feet of a proposed rock crusher makes no sense. We are not talking about a floral shop, but a rock crusher that will definitely affect anyone within a mile or more. This request is surrounded by properties that are now owned by Ready Mix due to a recent acquisition. So of course, none of the homeowners were notified. The closest homeowners to this area are Randy Etchison to the west and us to the north. Randy has been gone for 2 weeks and will not get home until tonight. And other neighbors of ours are not here all the time either. We attend every township meeting to stay informed of the goings on at the township. That's why we learned. Fortunately, the requester was not there and there were questions and issues brought up by board members. When we applied for a CUP to allow us to have a woodworking shop on our own premises that allowed us to sell to the public if we so decided, the board's only concern was, would it negatively affect our existing and potential neighbors? We had to answer many questions. I can only remember 3 clearly. First question, what kind of shop? Woodworking. The next one surprised me. How would our shop affect traffic on Leo's Road? I told them that there's no storefront nor a showroom. Folks would bring their idea or a piece and pick it up later. They saw no problem with that. The third question, noise. Yes, noise. Would the noise from our shop negatively affect our neighbors? No. From the front door of our fully insulated shop to Leo's Road is 749 feet, with our closest neighbor about another 500 feet. Noise was not an issue. They saw no issue either. If we have to be screened for that, why don't others? Existing zoning guidelines. The following is not a suggestion to be followed or could be considered or may be considered. It is stated that it shall be considered. The health, general welfare, safety, and economic prosperity of the county and the immediate area that affect established character and quality, physical attractiveness, existing topography, drainage features, erosion potential, vegetative cover, prevention and control of water pollution, location of floodplains and floodway, movement of traffic and relation to existing or proposed roads, and demand for related services. The possible hazard.
Okay, sir, your time's up.
All I'm asking is the playing field be equal. And I have one question. Where other than in Industrial District 1 does it show that you can have the production of gravel? Not the harvesting, the production of gravel.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You could come up and yes.
Again, I apologize for not getting to the
State your
Len
name
Road.
again, sorry.
Jim Miller.
Thank you.
Apologize for not getting to the Len Road meeting, and we'll make some phone calls today to try to get a meeting with them, to seeing what their concerns are, so I can answer their questions. My pit crushes about 7,000 yards every 3 years. And I don't sell to the public a lot in consideration of the people on Olson Road. I don't know what the heck this has to do with Leo's Road, but I'm surrounded by gravel pits. So my noise consists of a screener, a Honda motor that's probably 7 horses through the course of the summers for screening dirt. So every 3 years I might, consider crushing 7,000 yards, but that's it. So that's the noise I have there. And part of my property is already recommended. The pit area where I store stumps and whatever, that's all redone, seeded. And as I go, I keep a new part open for more additional stumps and debris. The north end, I have I don't know who owns, I believe Todd's Ready Mix bought the north end of mine. And I already had a buffer there for a private agreement, which is reclaimed already. And grass and trees will be planted on it this spring. It's already redone and black dirt on it. So the impact of my pit is very minimal. So I don't understand the noise or the thing that I would be affecting personally. And again, I wish I would have not missed this meeting in Town of Len Road. So if I could address all these questions that people had, I would have been more than happy to.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that wants to speak against this CUP? Sir, state your name, address. You got 3 minutes.
My name is Eric Dresco. I live on 15536W Leo's Road. I'm neighbor to the Ericksons, and I'm not opposed to the pit. We're used to that, but I heard that the request is from Monday through Saturday. I am opposed to the Saturday, and I am opposed to a crusher because I hear the crusher from next Jim's neighbor. I hear that every day through the summer. Now you're going to do it on the weekends too. It doesn't make sense. The county has zoned Leo's Road as residential, so they should take some consideration for the residents in that area. And that's what my issue is, just the noise and the crusher working on the weekends.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else out there who wish to speak in opposition?
I got here a little late, so I didn't get a paper signed up.
Okay, state your name and address, sir. You
Jerry
got 3
Etchison.
minutes.
Jerry Etchison, 11408 North County Road T. I live right on the corner of my home right now of 2777 and T. And I can hear all that noise and see the smoke from where I am. And I own 80 acres along Leo's Road there. And I don't believe that we need that in there anymore. There's already a mile square of devastation there, which will never be acclaimed back to anywhere as near what it was in my great-great-grandchildren's name, or lifetime, I mean. Reclamation is a joke. There'll be a little grass and some brush, and maybe they'll plant a tree or two, and whether or not they'll live is doubtful. And I guess that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Come up, state your name and address again.
Jim Miller, just want to respond to that this has nothing to do with my 18 acres of what I'm doing there. Like I said, I do everything for my neighbors, from plowing their driveway, for putting up with our trucks. Todd's is a whole different story here. I don't crush full-time. It's not my machinery that is making this noise full-time or on Saturdays. Just wanted to make that statement.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else? If not, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP 23-003.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel and a second by Mr. Righeimer to come out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action for conditional use permit number 23-003, Jim Miller Excavating. Legal description is previously read into record. This is for the 5-year renewal of CUP 20-004, and is for the location and operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. There was a couple different things I do want to respond to here. The initial CUP was granted on May 18th of 2001. That was CUP number 01-007. It also said that 2 opinion letters were sent out. We I guess don't necessarily do opinion letters. We do notice of hearings in which an individual can submit additional comments. Those 2 additional hearing slips were sent out and no comments were received.
That clarifies that. Ms. Hessel?
I have nothing, I just.
Yeah, and then, again, looking at, and I'll bring Andy into the fold here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately the town tabled the decision. Now, the town would be a recommendation to this committee, a recommendation that you can take or not take. This committee has that ability to do so when it deals with a conditional use permit. I would caution this committee to not go against other common practices, and that if you were to approve a conditional use permit, potentially make it conditioned upon town approval. We've done that in the past, but if this committee doesn't feel informed enough or wants to have the input of the town's decision prior to rendering their verdict, you do have the ability to table this decision as well.
My thought on that, Mr. Kozlowski, is I like myself to get the town's input. But I also would like to hear from the other committee members and Andy, see what his input is on this. And
Yeah,
I
if I-
believe Excuse me a second, Andy, before you start. I would like, I don't know if it's not tabled, it's postponed until next month's meeting, but that's just my input on it. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, thank you, Mr. Chair. Jay's right. We don't need town approval in order to take final action on the permit application here. But if you're going to adjourn, or excuse me, postpone until next meeting, just understand that there is some time and expense associated with renoticing this. So there is that expense. You can make your approval conditioned upon town approval, as Jay previously noted, and that'd be perfectly fine. So, I mean, it's really up to the committee as to how you want to proceed here.
Okay, ready?
Have there been any complaints on this?
On this
property?
one, not specifically on this one, we had heard complaints on Todd's Ready Mix in the past. And for those that were on this committee, we heard a request, I believe it was about 2 years ago, for further expansion of Todd's Ready Mix. They actually needed to do a rezone and
But on
rezone a
a
portion
Jim
of
Miller.
residential. On this one, no. On this 18
Right.
acres of Jim Miller Excavating, no.
Go ahead.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it with the possible conditions for approval, J's 1 through 5, findings 1 through 9.
Would you also have that conditioned upon town approval or no?
No.
You said no?
You can.
If you get a second, sure.
I just think we've heard enough here. It's our responsibility to approve or disapprove. I think we've heard enough here. The gentleman wasn't there at that town meeting. We've heard him here. I think that all makes sense, and I think the time and expense and postponing this is unnecessary bureaucracy.
Are you second on that, Ms. Hessel?
I'm seconding it only for discussion because I
Yes,
think it
that-
should go through the town, but
So we do have a motion and a second.
Yep. To approve the CUP 23-003. Any more discussion?
so in our past practice and current practice, we take the town as consideration. We've done that with every approval or rejection. So I think we need to continue that effort just to keep it flowing correctly, because that's what we respect their opinion. I don't want them to ever feel like we don't, the townships or otherwise.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. Any more discussion? If not.
I just want to let
Kathy?
you know I'm here.
Go ahead. Tweed?
Hi. Yeah, Tweed Schuman, District 3. I've been here listening the whole time, but I couldn't get in to vote. But I would like to vote on this issue. I've listened to the entire discussion, and I feel the town needs to hear it first.
Okay.
All right, and let the record reflect that Tweed Schuman is on virtually then.
Okay, Kathy, let's do a roll call.
So I have a question. So my motion's not being voted for.
It is.
No,
Oh,
it
it
is.
is.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the conditional use permit application with conditions 1 through 5, which is maintain compliance of NR 135, maintain compliance of plan of operation, including normal hours of operation from 6 a.m., 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday, with crushing operations of 3 to 6 weeks per year, maintain compliance with Chapter 30. All other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. An expansion of existing pit not to exceed an additional 4 acres within the next 5 years without early renewal of CUP. That was motioned and seconded without input from the town.
Okay. Roll call, Kathy?
Michael Maestri,
I think we should have the town's approval first, so I guess I'm saying no.
Stacy Hessel,
No.
John Righeimer,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
No.
Motion
And
fails.
Tweed Schuman.
Oh, Tweed, sorry.
No,
Tweed Schuman, no.
no.
Thank you. Got it.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
may I make a motion to approve the CUP 23-003 with all of the 1 through 5 findings of facts 1 through 9, but with the caveat of he has to get the town approval first. It doesn't have to be tabled at this, but, so I don't know how to word that. I'm
You're
sorry.
conditioning approval upon town approval.
Correct, yes. Thank you for helping me out on that one.
That would be an additional condition on the permit. And before, and I'm asking Mr. Chair if I could address the committee before there's a second on Ms. Hessel's motion. If I could.
Andy?
Can I just ask Jay, when does the existing CUP expire?
Like in a couple days.
Here's my concern is that I would like there to be, and it sounds like the committee's in agreement, essentially.
February
a
21st.
standstill. I want there to be a standstill so that there's nothing good or bad that happens in relation to this pending, if Ms. Kessel's motion carries. I don't want there anything, any adverse impact, positive or negative, pending town approval. So I would appreciate if part of, actually, if we could take action on this and then we could ask the committee to extend the existing permit for a period of time to allow the town to consider this.
Can I just amend my motion before the second?
I'm going to ask Jay if it's appropriate to combine those two things here.
I would think it is, because again, we don't have a second yet, so the motion maker is still in the process of making a motion.
I wanted to make sure from a record standpoint that it was clear for your office that we have an extension of the existing permit pending consideration of this permit renewal application. If that's okay with you, okay with me.
Yeah, and I like that because it does have it a little bit more clean and concise that the original, or at least the still valid CUP 20-004 is extended, for an additional month, if not 2 months. I guess you'd almost want to make it, 2 months in case there is some additional tabling or whatever the case may be. But I would almost ask the motion maker to include that as part of their motion to extend conditional use permit number 20-004 up until, I guess you would call it May 1 of 2023. That way we don't run in the foul of a carry forward or a lapse of permit being expired and not a renewal taking place.
That's right. I would agree with that. I think that's right. If Stacy, if you're so inclined, May 1st makes sense to me.
I am so inclined, if you'll please add that to my motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second Ms. Hessel's motion. Is there any more discussion on this? Mr. Schuman, Mr. Maestri?
Yeah,
If I could, Mr. Chair, is it, Stacy, is it 1 through 5 plus the added condition of town approval based upon findings 1 through 9?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in discussion.
Yes.
So if this.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Hang on, Mr. Righeimer's got the floor.
So assuming, Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
this is approved, goes back to the town, they approve it, approve or deny, it comes back here?
No,
So if they approve, it goes through. If they deny,
then we
Comes
run
back
in,
here.
yeah, then we run into some interesting scenarios and I'd have to talk with legal counsel. If the town was to deny this at this point, this initial motion is contingent upon town approval.
so if they approve, it goes through.
Right, and you
They
wouldn't
do
see it
not, we
again.
don't
If they
know.
deny, then I'd have to talk with legal counsel, and I would assume that at that point, the applicant would potentially have to appeal at that point.
Thank you.
But my point is clear that I think that the towns should have say, and they should have given an opinion, even though the applicant wasn't there.
I agree. I mean, that's always been our motto, is to do what, go along with the town. So if there's not any more, Mr. Schuman, you had something you wanted to say?
no, I was just clarifying that we're gonna extend the CUP then until beyond the town hears this and gives us their recommendation, correct?
Yeah, so we have an original CUP that's still active up until February 21st of 2023 as part of that 3-year renewal. And part of Stacy's motion is to also renew that an additional 2 months until May 1st, and that we don't have a lapse of a current CUP being on operation. So we're basically extending the one that's currently out there for just 2 months, and that this renewal for 23-003 be given time that the town is able to take action on the matter. I know
Sure,
it'll be
and
for
then
a 5-year renewal at that point.
Yep, and it's contingent that the town of Lenred approves it, correct?
Correct. That is the
Yes.
current motion.
Okay, all right.
Yep, I'm clear there.
Okay, Kathy, could you do roll call, please?
Tweet Schuman,
Yes.
Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Michael Maestri,
yes,
John Righeimer,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay,
All right, moving on to new business. Item A, this is the, all my stuff.
Sorry.
This is the Torgenson Trust Certified Survey Map over an existing county plat. When we have these scenarios where we're doing a certified survey map over an existing plat, be it an assessor's plat in this case, it requires zoning committee acceptance, conditional acceptance, or rejection. We've seen some of these in the past. This was a scenario where there was an assessor's plat that had a small portion of what was commonly referred to as lot 12 that encompassed this. They're now doing a certified survey map over that entire land to lock it into one. As per state statutes read, when this occurs and you're doing a CSM over an existing county plat, it requires zoning committee approval. I have reviewed the certified survey map. I have no objections to it.
okay. Committee, any questions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map.
I'll second that.
We'll need to change the bottom there.
Okay.
The signature.
All right, we have a motion by Miss Hessel, you made the
No,
motion.
you
I
made the
made
motion.
the motion. And second by Miss Hessel to approve the certified survey map. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. I just scratched his name on.
Yeah, and I think you probably write, vice chair and write your name and then sign. Item B, the ordinance amendment for multi-dwelling development and definition of a resort. Ultimately, I'm keeping this on here as an agenda item every time, just so that we can have discussion about it. I have no formal information at this point to present the committee, but I have been thinking about this quite often. Ultimately, I think one of the better solutions to have any type of an approval process on a multi-dwelling development amendment is to come up with several different options, not different versions, but different options. Right now, again, the ordinance contradicts itself. So what I want to prepare this committee for next month is give you kind of the breakdown of where the ordinance is contradicting itself as option one, where if we don't do anything, it's not correct. And I'll show you where it's not correct as part of the current ordinance. Option two, allowing for, the multi-dwelling development, which is currently still in ordinance, but doesn't allow for the two, because there are some people that, object to having 2 dwelling units on one lot that still meets the minimum dimensional requirements because of potential tax implications. And then option 3 is what I was intending to go for with the current version 4 that's out there. So if this committee would allow me to present you those 3 different options, and then potentially send 1 or 2 of those options out to the towns for approval, I think that might be the better kind of process to go forward on this, because there is some confusion amongst the towns, there's confusion amongst individuals, there's even confusion about how the current ordinance reads. But I'd also like to turn it over to legal counsel, and that we basically tasked them last month to look into some of the potential tax implications that we had heard about, where, I'll just turn the floor over at that point. It looks like Rebecca Roker might have stepped in there now.
Yes, Hi, everyone. Andy actually
Hi,
had to step
Rebecca.
out. Hi, everyone. Andy had to step out for 5 seconds to use the facilities, and I said, sure, I'll come in and sit in for him. So he will be right back. He and I had talked about the questions that Mr. Neese had raised in terms of the property tax assessments. So I can't speak to those, but as I mentioned, Andy's going to be right back. Do you guys want to
Fill the
wait?
committee in? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
To fill the committee in, and when we talked about the potential tax implications, like I said, I think Phil Neese may have sent the committee members that breakdown as well. And again, we had legal counsel kind of to look into that, because ultimately we don't want to create any type of tax loopholes where if you had a larger tract of land and say you had 300 feet and you had one house on that lot, they're not assessing the full 300 feet at the same rate, where the first 100 feet is associated with prime, and then the remaining 200 feet is at a lesser tax rate and a lesser mill rate. Where again, if you were to put a second dwelling on there, it really falls back on the assessor then to do a new evaluation and to do a new assessment to assess that remaining 200 feet for an additional prime rate. Now, I don't know, and I'm not a town assessor, as to how that process works, but ultimately, when they would take out a land use permit from our office to build another house, the town assessors receive copies of those land use permits, which I would hope would trigger a new assessment to be done. So I'm not overly concerned that there's some type of tax loophole, as long as the town assessors are still receiving the information and doing that reassessment versus prime, not prime, and taking their entire lot as a whole. But I'll turn it over to Andy if he had any other information to share on that aspect.
No, thank you, Jay. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. So you ruined my big surprise and reveal that Rebecca is back with me here at the law firm. Beyond that, Jay, you're right. I'm not an assessor. I don't play one on TV, but I don't understand the concerns surrounding assessment, because the email that I read is inconsistent, at least in my mind, with what is considered to be the appropriate assessment method in the tax assessment manual. Of course, that manual applies statewide, and I understand there's variation and different assessors view things differently. But in theory, because we have this thing called the uniformity clause in our Constitution, we're supposed to value property all the same way. So I'm not understanding why it is that this would create some sort of inequity from a property tax standpoint or create a problem. That said, I think Jay began this discussion of saying, here is the concern or problem that we were trying to solve and laying that out for the committee. I agree 100% that we need to solve this problem. I don't know that the method of solving this problem that Jay came up with and that I reviewed and edited and refined, I don't know that that's the perfect way to do it, but I happen to think it's good. I think Jay happens to think it's good, but the committee may have different ideas. Either way, I want to make sure the committee's aware that this is a problem we need to solve, period. We just have to figure out how to do it. So I'm open to discussion about other things you want to see. If Jay, you want to produce that document next meeting in terms of the concerns that we have if we do nothing. I don't know if the committee wants us to explore different options. I guess, Jay, we're just looking for some direction on that, right?
Yeah, and I think right before you stepped out, I was talking to prepare this committee with kind of the 3 different options, where if we do nothing, to show the committee where there's conflict within the ordinance right now. Option 2, kind of an amalgamation of what we've already prepared. And then option 3, as far as, you know, potentials to not allow 2 dwelling units on one lot, even though they meet the minimum dimensional requirements, in essence, to avoid any potential tax loophole or implications. So that's what I want to prepare the committee. And really, again, this is just a discussion as to keep this moving forward and not just sweep it under the rug, because again, there are errors and something needs to be fixed one way or the other, because it can't stay as it is.
Well, it's kind of fun to see. It's fun to see it on the agenda every month. I mean, if you want to keep it there, every month we could have a discussion. It's kind of fun.
As long as eventually it gets somewhere, because like I said, the current version's not good. And
I was being facetious, Jay. I was being facetious.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to see it, in our next month's meeting, and maybe hopefully we can get it figured out and sent out to the towns. I mean, we've been playing with it for long enough. So, that's where my thought is on that.
Yeah, I might even have 4 options because we talk about, the resort definition was also in there and there was some, opposition for changing the resort definition. So I might have multiple options and then leave it up to this committee as to, what options or which option you want to send to the towns for their approval. I think that's one of the only ways that, something's going to get done. Yep.
And we need to get it out to the towns. So.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Stacy, you got something you want to say? Okay.
I do not.
All right, nothing else? We're out of closed or public hearing, Doug. So if there's no other business for discussion, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you, T.